WFUZ-TV, Coastal Alabama, Northwest Florida, the People's Voice.
Welcome to the People's Voice podcast on WFUZ-TV. I'm Blair Castro, and I'm here with Thomas Jenkins. Today we have Ginger Harrelson in the studio. Ginger's running for Orange Beach City Council, Place 2. Ms. Harrelson, thank you so much for coming here today and being willing to talk about your platform and your candidacy. I'm going to start by asking you, what made you want to run for this place and run for City Council right now at this moment in time here in Orange Beach?
Well, I am the mother of two small children, both who will be in the school system next year, and I truly believe that government should represent its people. I'm the only candidate running that has children in the school system. I'm the only candidate running that is a mother. And I'm the only candidate running that's a small business owner. So I really, truly believe that those groups deserve representation, and I have a voice, and I hope to use it.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and experience specifically? I know that you're an attorney, and I know that you're also a business owner. So tell us a little bit about that and how you think those skills make you an ideal candidate for City Council.
I have been a licensed attorney in the state of Alabama for over 10 years, and I spent a few of those years working as a city attorney for Orange Beach. So I'm very familiar with municipal law and zoning law, and I've actually drafted some of the ordinances that are in place in Orange Beach today. So I feel like those qualifications make me an ideal candidate, a knowledgeable candidate. And my husband and I own beach ball properties. We grew a book of business from 14 properties when we originally bought it to over 350 properties today. And we have had the privilege of truly serving the community through sponsorships and getting to know people in community events like the 4th of July Independence Street Day Party and the kids' New Year's Eve confetti drop at the wharf.
That's awesome. Yeah, I see you guys' logo and company all over the place, so that's really cool. Appreciate what you're doing there. As a mom, I know education is probably a really high priority for you, along with community engagement. What are some things that you think Orange Beach does well in terms of that, and what would you like to change or build upon or improve in other ways?
I think the schools are a strength for Orange Beach. I'm proud that they're city-run schools. I would like to see more elective options offered, more trade school options offered. I would love to see a dedicated middle school, a separate property from the high school and elementary school for those students. And I think that would also help with some of the overcrowdedness and moving forward as far as a growth plan for the city.
I think that might help with some of the traffic and the congestion there too. If perhaps there were different schools and they staggered, like letting out at slightly different times, maybe. I don't know.
Well, the high school as it is now in Orange Beach was intended to just be a middle school before the Gulf Shores and Orange Beach school split. So it was originally built to be just a middle school.
What are some of the other platform points that you are hoping to bring to the attention of the council if you are elected?
Some things for me is I would love to see the kids park shaded. I would love to see reinvestment in green areas in our community, additional parks, additional programs. I would love to see a splash pad for the kids. Any program or, growth wise, supporting lower density and being able to work with developers who will understand that and not out of town developers that don't understand that. We live off Canal Road, and it's hard in the summertime, really any time of year now, as far as getting home and the traffic not being a problem. And from a legal standpoint, property owners do have a right to build. So we can't just stop all growth. And I think that's, if a candidate or anyone is telling you that, that's just not realistic, unfortunately. But I think that we have to be willing and able to ask hard questions like, can our city sewer system handle this? Does there need to be a moratorium? Can our schools handle this additional growth? So those are the questions that need to be asked and not just rubber stamp approval on every new development.
So there is a moratorium in place now in Orange Beach. How do you feel, or do you have a thought or opinion about extending that potentially? Are you kind of waiting for more information? What's your thought on the potential for that to be a little longer?
I am waiting for more information, but I would be in support of extending that until we can get, the new council, whoever is elected, hopefully me, but in there to really analyze and come up with a strategic plan that looks into the future. Does, do the roads support this? Do the schools support this? What are we going to do about affordable housing for hospitality workers, for other types of workers? Those are all questions that need to be asked, and I would like to be in office to be able to ask those hard questions.
The thing that I've been asking everybody that comes in here that's running for a candidacy is how much interplay have you seen between municipalities, and do you think that we could benefit from having more communication, like in regards to traffic flow, events that are occurring maybe in Orange Beach that may affect traffic flow, or traffic violations in Orange Beach, or vice versa, like with Hangout Fest?
Yeah, I think that the cities definitely could get along a little bit better, right? I feel that's the impression everyone has, and I hope to see that. I hope there's more collaboration moving forward between Gulf Shores and Orange Beach. We are one community.
Exactly. It's a very small island, and there's only so many ways in and out.
Yeah, two cities, but one community, and I think we both need to show each other consideration moving forward.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to see more of that attitude and moving forward.
Absolutely.
For sure.
What are your thoughts on transparency and accountability in local government? I keep hearing myself a lot from residents about responsiveness, accountability, transparency. They want things to be more accessible and more open. Generally, we don't do the worst job, but I do think there's room for improvement. And I think Orange Beach, does a pretty good job too, but there's always room for improvement everywhere. So what are some things that you think about that in terms of your assessment of how responsive or accountable that the local government could be?
Yes, I'm all for transparency and accountability. I started the What's Happening Orange Beach page. It's a Facebook group that now has 110,000 followers, and I have really tried over the years since I started this group to share community events, or if something is coming before the council that I think business owners or guests or residents may want to know about, I'll try to share that to the page. Being more accessible, meet people where they are, right? Get online, have a Facebook presence, have a TikTok presence, talk on Instagram, do reels, do short form video. Having that face, even if it's not face to face, if it's an electronic face, and you're getting a message out, or you're telling people this is what's happening in our city, I think that's vitally important moving forward.
Absolutely. And I think that is some of the positive feedback I've received too, was that they are happy to see people engaging that are younger, that are female, that are different than, the same old status quo a lot of the time. And I really accredit the internet age for bringing that about and making that possible in a lot of ways, because it allows us to mobilize and connect with people in a way we probably weren't able to before. So I didn't know you started that group. That's really cool.
100%. And again, the reason I started that group was because I wanted to share events in the community and share about our business and, share things that were important. And it's taken, years of cultivation and weeding in and out. But I think that every elected official should have a social media presence and should be able to meet younger generations where they are, which is online.
What would you say is the sore spot for Orange Beach in terms of something they probably like the crux issue, or like the main thing that you would like to see improved in the city?
I think from what I've been talking to a lot of residents and voters about is about the growth, but also about the schools and the transparency in the schools and the decision making that is coming from the schools. And of course, nothing's going to be perfect in the first few years of splitting a school system. There's going to be some growing pains. But I think it would do a lot for the community if the people that have been appointed to, the school board and to some other government boards would just communicate a little bit better, tell us what's happening.
Can you talk a little bit about your law background and how you feel that really sets you up to be an ideal candidate for council? I know you touched on that before. For me, something you said that really struck me and stood out, and I've done this too with my law background, was that I worked as like a policy advisor, and I also helped draft ordinances and get that passed and get it, implemented in different cities and counties. And I think people don't understand what all goes into that. Mm-hmm. And they overlook it and they think these laws are things just, they appear, but it takes a lot of work, and it takes vetting, and it takes research. And before, we even had internet access as accessible as it is now, we had to really dig into the research. So feel free to talk a little bit about that and how that shaped your career and how it can help you in government.
So just going to law school and being trained to think like a lawyer, I tell my husband and anyone I'm really talking to, it changes you as a person, and not in a bad way, in a way where you just think completely differently. And so having that reasoning and that logic, and then also just the knowledge of city and municipal law, because I did work for the city of Orange Beach as an attorney and represented the city, I feel like I have, a little bit of a leg up on, if we're having a discussion about an issue, I immediately have kind of a knowledge base I can pull from and say, well, this is legal, or this may not be legal because of X, Y, and Z. I believe my experience as an attorney and going through law school and being challenged in law school to think differently and to ask questions and to, have that logical brain has prepared me well for running for public office. After law school, I worked for a judge in Mobile, Judge Peter. I clerked for him. And prior to actually graduating law school, I interned with Ashley Rich, and I was her intern for a summer and actually sat second chair in a murder trial as a law student. And that was a phenomenal learning experience. After I finished clerking for Judge Peter, I did insurance defense for a few years at a law firm. And then we moved to Orange Beach and started doing our business. And also I got a job with Wanda Cochran, who was the city attorney for Orange Beach. And so I automatically have, a knowledge base of municipal law, zoning law. When there's a discussion that comes up in council, I can pull from that base and immediately know whether something is legal or may not be legal.
That would definitely be an asset, on any dais of any city.
For sure.
So one thing I'm sure everybody has noticed about this race is your branding, which is, by the way, my favorite branding of any candidate so far. It definitely sticks out and it definitely makes you unique. So explain to us a little bit about what's the deal with the pink and how does that resonate with you?
Well, pink has kind of always been my thing, and it's a personal brand. It's positive. I, draw a little inspiration from Elle Woods and Legally Blonde. But for me, I was like, what can I do to differentiate myself between, my race and other candidates? And I know that everyone does, red, white, and blue, or in Orange Beach, the school colors are blue and orange. So I wanted to pick something completely different. And I picked this bright, positive pink color, and I think that it really stands out in signs. And one reason I did that is because I've had so much experience branding through our company, Beach Ball Properties. We did a lot of guerrilla marketing in the beginning. We had no marketing budget. We bought a book of business that had 14 properties, and Hunter and I looked at each other like, what are we going to do? How are we going to grow this? And we bought these stickers that have a beach ball on them. It was the first thing we could buy, and we just went to every single restaurant, bar, business, every chamber event, and we would tell them about ourselves. And we had the sticker. A lot of places down here, as you know, you can put stickers up. So we would give some to the hostesses, the bartenders, the waiters, the waitresses, and tell them. And so they started telling people about us. And that's how we were able to grow so quickly. And then also through the social media presence. But, branding is super important, not only for companies, for individuals, and for cities. You want to have that brand, and we need to attract, positive, fun family vacationers down here to continue to support the tourism industry and to support long-time residents as well.
And shout out to stickers, because we have WFUZ-TV stickers and they're all over town at really cool spots. So if you ever see a WFUZ-TV sticker, it's an Easter egg, let us know. People underestimate the effectiveness of that in terms of branding.
Truly. I want to know why you're invested and why you want to be a part of city government, right? And for me, it's my kids. And I'm very invested in this community. With 2 children in our school systems and with our business here, we are long-term here. There's nowhere else we would rather be. And so my platform to me is extremely important, and the representation that I think that I will bring to families and women and business owners in the community is what drives me to do this.
How do your kids feel about you running for office?
Well, my kids are 4 and 6, and so my 6-year-old, she gets it a little bit. My 4-year-old, he's kind of wild and rambunctious. He's a little mischievous, but they love it. They love the signs. When we pass them in the road, they go, "There's mommy's sign. There's mommy's sign." And they'll, we like to give them the stickers to pass out to people at events, and they love that little job. Thankfully, part of politics, just the nature of it, is it can be dirty, right? Mm-hmm. And every candidate experiences a little bit of that in this day and age. And thankfully, my kids are young enough where they don't have to experience it. But I do think that everyone, in this next month should be, aware that people running for political office or politicians in general, we are just normal people. We have families, and we're doing this because we think we can best serve the community. But to keep it positive and the mudslinging and the rumors to a minimum is what I have tried to do, and I wish everyone would do the same. But my campaign is centered on positivity.
Absolutely.
Have you had much dissent online or just out and about when you're talking about running at all?
Not really, thankfully. I mean, there's always going to be some haters out there, right?
Sure.
Some people that don't want the old guard to change.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And, I think the residents of Orange Beach and the voters of Orange Beach will have their chance to decide what they want.
100%.
I think it's so important when you can involve the whole family and you do it as a unit and your kids get involved. Even at a young age, that's important. I remember taking my kids very young too when I worked on campaigns to go wave signs and go to the precincts and pass out palm cards and everything. And they remember that and it helps them instill that value of civic engagement and the importance that their voice matters and that they're not just speaking into the abyss, that people are internalizing what they're saying. And if they're advocating for something, to keep going, even if it doesn't happen right that like moment in time, you can do it in the future. So that's important. And I like to see that your family's out there helping you as well. I think that's great.
Thank you. Yeah, one thing that I've gotten over and over again is we're so glad that a younger person, I'm sure you've gotten this too, a younger person has stepped up and is running. You know, win, lose, I feel like I've learned so much from this experience. I've never knocked on doors. I knocked on doors now several times. I've met people in the community that I would have not met had I not decided to run for politics, for public office. But, you know, I think that community engagement is super important, and not just at election time, Before I worked for the city as an attorney, I was still attending city council meetings. After I worked for the city as an attorney, I attended city council meetings. Even if I could not be there in person, I watched on Facebook the live stream. We have to know what's going on in our government. And that's an individual responsibility. But I've tried to talk to people that are our age about this all the time. Things are passed, and if people don't know what's happening with the law, then they get upset about it after the fact. But if they would have been engaged in the first, when it was happening, they could have put input. They could have gone to the public hearing. They could have spoken out. But I think it is very important to speak to your local politicians, to let them know who you are. And, one example I have of this is there was a state legislation that was passing that was going to affect vacation rentals. And I was sent this legislation through a group called Gumbo, Gulf United Metro Business Organization, which we're members of through our business. And I saw it and I was like, wow, this is super concerning. I don't think that whoever drafted this understands the implications for our industry and for businesses down here that do vacation rentals. And so we were able to work with state legislatures through that organization to modify, and I actually helped draft some of the language in the law to protect professional vacation rental businesses.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I would think anybody who could protect the city from lawsuit and financial loss that way would be a very valuable asset.
Absolutely. There's not a perfect situation where the city isn't ever going to be sued, right? There's always a lawsuit about something. But having, the facts and having someone that knows the law and says like, hey, this may be a weakness, or this is a strength, or this case has merit, or it doesn't have merit, and someone who's actually been in a courtroom is important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, no telling how many careless mistakes happen at that level.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I know for me, something I keep getting told, I guess, if there's any sort of backlash, it would be you're young, speaking to your youth, so you don't have the experience. But when I hear you talk, I resonate with that because we do have experience. It just might not be in this current seat in public office, but you have a wealth of experience in terms of law, in terms of policy, and guiding people through legal situations, and with running a business and just life. Just because someone is younger than the average person on the council doesn't necessarily mean they don't have the experience required to be a good council member, because everyone's life experiences is different and diverse. And I think that's what makes the city so unique.
Absolutely. I mean, all voices matter, and it's a lot, as you know, to run for political office. You put yourself and your family through a lot. And at the end of the day, you have to say, okay, I think this is worth it, because in my heart of hearts, our voices matter. And just because we're 30, 40 years old doesn't mean that we shouldn't have a seat at the table at this point. And I love to see when young people are engaged. When you go to a city council meeting, and it's intimidating to go introduce yourself to someone in office. I mean, I've been there. It's hard to talk to people sometimes. But once you do it and they know your name, they know where you live, and if you have a business, what business you run, that matters, because then you aren't just some faceless voter. You are a person. You are someone that's invested in the community.
Absolutely. We went through that similarly. It's funny because when I first started my career, after I came back from law school and I went back home to Pensacola, I went to law school in Orlando, and then I came back here, and began working on political campaigns. And I worked for someone who was challenging our congressman, and ended up in the end getting to know him through challenging him on a race to end up doing work for him later. And then when we came here to Baldwin County and first started getting our feet wet, I guess, in the meetings, we went to different members who at first probably thought we were just faceless, angry people. And now we have a really good relationship with them where we can call them up or text them or have them over here. And that's really something I value, and people don't necessarily think about it, but just going to those meetings, that's the start of it. Mm-hmm. Follow up with emails, follow up with a way to stay engaged, follow up with them, tag them and stuff, kind of stay engaged. Don't just make it a one-time appearance, because that's how you really create that real change, long-standing relationships. And it isn't something that you build overnight. So the fact that you have those is really going to be a huge asset to the Orange Beach City Council. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in today to speak with us about your candidacy. I wish you the best of luck. And everybody, the municipal elections are on August 26th. Coming up in just a few short weeks. So remember to get out and vote.
Absolutely. Thank you.